Hi, this is Amanda with Crafting with Amanda, and this is our April 2021 club cards. The first one, the lilac, comes from the Cricut Flower Market cartridge, and it makes the card. And this other one comes from the Cricut collection from Close to My Heart, Everyday Moments. So if you want to cut these same cards, go ahead and turn on your Cricut and have some fun. Here is the list of things that I used. I have on here that you need grape ink. If you're in my club and receive the card pieces, the second purple that you received for the lilac or with the lilac is grape. I only had scraps of wisteria when I was cutting one for me to do as a sample, so that's why you'll see in the screen that I have wisteria ink. My club is free. If you want to participate and receive all the card pieces, there are a couple ways you can get those. One is to go to my blog, craftingwithamanda.com, and purchase the monthly club kit. And you can do that a month at a time, or you can do that several months at a time. It's your choice. I don't always send the envelopes. This is an unusual year, or an unusual month, excuse me. It's an unusual year too. But if you want the envelopes included with your card pieces, then you'll need to order those as well. These are the Close to My Heart Slimline cards, so I did include the envelopes just because they match perfectly. So you'll notice on the cut from the Everyday Moments collection, there's probably some, I'll call them chads, that are hanging in the cut that you'll just need to poke out. I figured everybody could kind of do their own, and many hands make light work. So there's supposed to be 6 pieces of green leaves, and that's what I'm looking for now, but it'll work with 5. Hopefully my set is the only one that's missing a leaf. So those are the pieces for the one card, and then here's the piece for the lilac card. In your sets, the yellow piece is a full yellow outline of the lilac flower. I didn't have enough yellow to make a full yellow piece, and so I just went ahead and covered the back of the lilac colored petals with just a small piece of the yellow, so that the flower centers would all be yellow. So moving ahead on your Everyday Moments, the white outline, I strongly suggest going ahead and dry fitting all of the pieces, and then you'll notice that I'm either pulling the pieces above or below the cut so that I know exactly where they go and what orientation they need to be, so that when I put the glue on them, that it's just a matter of put the glue on it and then I can just lay them right on, kind of slide them into place. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I did make a mistake in that I didn't have enough glue to water ratio. I used too much water. I sprayed like 2 times instead of 1, and so my glue got a little too watery and didn't want to hold as well as it should have. So there's a couple times that I had to put some pieces back on later. So just make sure that you just do a little bit of water to kind of thin out to glue, and then I just have a foam that I use to tap on the glue. And this just works out really well for me. I just like how quick it is, and it's a good, normally without too much water, a good adhesion to the project. So even with dry fitting, sometimes you have to be careful on your placement. And there we go. We're just putting that together. And there it looks. I love these. I plan to make many more and do a scrapbook layout with this as well. I really like that style of the color behind the overlay. And now I'm taking the ink pad, this is pomegranate, and inking the edges of my banners, and I'll do the same thing with the peach. And it's funny, for me the peach ink pad comes across more neon, but in real life it's perfect. So now we're going to kind of look at the lilac, and the best way to line up the pieces is there's the little loop at the top Just make sure that that's facing the same direction. And then you can layer it on so that the dark side or the light side of the cardstock is up. You just would have your loop at the top facing a different direction. So, and this last piece with the flowers that are a little more open space, and it's cut in the lilac color, I found that to line it up on the stem with the other lilac pieces, there are two flowers. Right now I'm dry embossing them. There's two flowers in the lower right corner that have circles for their holes, and I line those holes up with the bottom, those two in the bottom right hand corner of my lilac flower base, and then you can kind of tilt it when those two line up, and it just, everything else falls into place. That just seemed to be the easiest for me. So you see I kind of tap them down there and move it over a little, and so it's all done. And by doing the dry embossing and kind of rolling up some of the petals, it really gave some fullness to the lilac branch. And here I'm just taking the leaf, do a score down the center, and some of the paper actually wrinkled, and so I just use that as veins. I just let it incorporate into the design. So attach the leaf here, and you can attach it as far up or down or wherever you want it. So now we're looking at the sapphire piece of paper that I sent, and it's too wide or too tall, however your orientation is, to go on the base of the slimline card. So I cut it down, I cut an inch off, and here I'm taking the honeycomb, couldn't think of the word, embossing folder, and I'm embossing it, and you'll notice that it can't do the whole thing. It's not long enough to do an 8-inch. So I chose a pattern, honeycomb, that's repeatable, and it doesn't have a like an up and a down to it. So then you can just line it up, and you feel till where it settles in over, and you get a seamless embossing of the whole thing. And one of the things that I do is I actually keep the end that I don't want to emboss or that's already embossed outside of the sandwich of the embossing plates. That way you're less likely to get a line or a ridge from where the edge of the embossing folder was. Just glue this on. I inked the edges as you saw. I had my settings set incorrectly for my embossing folder, so it did kind of break the cardstock a little bit, and that was on me. I thought I had adjusted it to a +1, and it actually, when it went to a +3. So I corrected that later, but for this sample I had it incorrect. And then I just glue the flowers on, put your banners on. I stamped Just Keep Smiling, and that's from the May stamp of the month that's coming up next month. At first I wasn't, the stamps of the month are great, and oftentimes I qualify for them for $5. And if you're a VIP and you spend $50, then you qualify for them for free. But there's not always a use for them, and I feel like, okay, they're taking up space in my crafts supplies stash, and that's already limited as it is. But I went ahead and got this. It was one I was on the fence for, but just for the sentiment, Just Keep Smiling, and then it also has the thankful that I use on the lilac. And I love the script. It looks just like really nice handwriting, but not over the top calligraphy. So I really like the sentiments, if nothing else. But there's also some little flowers that would work great from the May stamp of the month. Like on the back of the cards or on the inside of the cards on an envelope, that are just cute. So, and I needed a circle. I wanted a circle element when I was kind of designing this. And originally I had used a punch that I had, but with all the Cricut cuts, I just went ahead and cut out a whole sheet of the scallop circles to send. And there is a circle that nestles inside of that if that's what you want to use. For my sentiment that I chose, it was longer, and so the circle didn't work. But I really like the balance of this. Kind of have the peach and the pomegranate all working across the page. So ink blending is not my forte. And I had started with Distress Oxide inks for when I was first creating the sample. And the ink colors that I have from Close to My Heart, they're all too vivid. And so they didn't work with the, let's say, the muted or gray tones of the papers that I chose for the project this week. So instead I have the fern ink at the bottom, and I just re-inked my ink pads, and I don't recommend that either because you end up getting wet, juicy spots, and then it gets dark. And like I said, ink blending is not my forte. I think I lack the patience for it. There's a gal in this group, Mary Beth, you know I'm talking about you, that she does fabulous. And the Distress Oxide inks work better, they blend better, they're creamier, they flow better, where the dye inks, you really have to go back over them over and over and over and over again. And I don't show you that process, I just kind of give you the basics, and then you will see in the final project that some of the roundness from the sponge I do end up blending out. And you know, I'm gonna take it that it looks just like clouds. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I lost some of the footage for this video. I apologize. I don't know what happened. Either I didn't press the button and record, or at one point I had the camera on time lapse and it might have done that instead. So I'm stamping that Thankful Sentiment from the May stamp of the month, coming next month. And I had glued down the lilac. I did do a pop dot of glue behind the head of the lilac, just to give it a little more reality. You know, it just pops it off the page, but it doesn't pop it off so that it's, you know, not going to be easy to mail. And then I took the Bluebell glitter shimmer trim, or shimmer trim I should call it, and I'm just cutting off one of the sides. It's not going to be a ward end, a banner end with the 2 points. It's just going to have 1 point. And I had a really hard time lining this up straight. So hopefully it turned out okay in the end. And my tip for the shimmer trim is don't cut off all of that clear plastic, because that allows you to peel the shimmer trim away from the plastic so that it's ready to just put down, because it has adhesive back. Adding my sentiment, and you can't tell because again I lost some footage, but I took the Bluebell shimmer brush and I splattered on it, because that's why I wanted the Distress Oxides, was to have the watermarks in the back. So I'm just showing you that I stamped the insides and the envelopes. But for that lilac background, I did shimmer brush splatter the back where I sponged. So now you can see it in this close-up, but that's what I used. So hope you guys have fun. If you want to be a part of our club, go ahead and check out the blog. All my VIP members that sign up as a VIP under me through Close to My Heart get the card kits for free. You will receive an envelope from me every month. And otherwise, if you don't want to do that, you can purchase and play along as we go. Have a great day.